Associate Minister for Formation and Communication, Emily Ralph-Servant, and I'm here with our Youth and Community Formation Pastor, Brooke Martin, who is our coordinator for Conference Assembly every year. And we realized that we just had a pivot, right, Brooke, where we had been planning for an in-person assembly with our new model and multiple geographic locations coming together. And with everything happening with COVID and the uncertainty there, we decided to pivot to an online assembly this year. And one of the questions I've been hearing is, well, why did you have to decide to do that now? Like, why couldn't you wait until closer to November when you know what's happening with COVID to move to online?
That's a great question. I've heard that, and I also just want to start and recognize that this shift was not made lightly, and there was definitely an element of grief and sadness as we decided and discerned and decided we needed to just move forward with this pivot. So a quick answer to that is that there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. There is the piece of tech. So if we had decided to switch late, then your experience would not have been as great as we are planning on it being this year as you jump in on Zoom. There is also more videos that need to be pre-recorded so that our representatives who cannot make it to our broadcast site are able to still participate as fully as they would have. So the service will look the same. There just may be a few different elements that have already been recorded. There is also research and translation and documentation that needs to take place behind the scenes that just takes time because we are using not just staff but also volunteers to make that happen. I also want to acknowledge and thank my hosts or the other people who had been planning in one way for an in-person assembly, and then when we shift to this pivot format, if we had waited till last minute, all of their work, all the food preparation, any deposits that had been paid, and all of their time and energy would have not been able to be utilized. So by switching now, they can shift how they're planning and prepare for this hybrid format to be, or this online format to be better used.
Yeah, so what about that, Brooke? Like, why couldn't we do a hybrid format? Why are we switching to all online?
One way to look at that is to think about MCUSA's convention. So MCUSA's convention was considered hybrid. However, when it came to the delegate meeting session, that was completely online. There are some logistical reasons if you think about bylaws for voting and for attendance to be able to track who is where and when and who is actually who. That makes that better and better for our bylaws to make sure we're doing what we say we will do. But the other piece of that is also for experience for everyone. If we are all in the same gathering space and level ground, we can communicate better with one another. And that is really helpful in this time. It would be kind of the same idea where I had mentioned earlier with the early shift, where if we did hybrid, we would be asking our volunteers and the same amount of staff and the same amount of volunteers, potentially, hopefully finding more, but to plan 2 events. So you're planning an online event, you're planning a hybrid event, and you also need the team to make the 2 look like one event. And that is a silly amount of extra work and for an experience that would not have been as well experienced by everyone on equal grounds.
So people who've been around in the conference for a long time are used to a Friday night worship session. We've been doing that for many, many years. And then over the last 18 months, we've been doing a lot of Sunday morning worship sessions that people can attend in place of their normal Sunday morning worship or watch together as a congregation. But this year for Assembly, we are shifting to a Saturday worship session. What's the reason for that?
A couple of reasons for that. The main one being keeping it all in one day helps lessen the travel that anyone needs, whether you're coming from different states or from another side of your state, or if you are hoping that your congregation will join or that guests can join for the worship but not for the delegate session. Making it all in one day lessens that travel time and maximizes the relationship building that can happen in that same day, either between sessions or when you're sitting there and present and saying, I am here for today. Let me be here fully. It allows for just the relationship access and the presence of mind to be present in that moment. And so that is part of our shift for that. We do recognize it's different, and we hope you all enjoy it.
We'll give it a try, right? And
Exactly.
That's part of the full plan over the next few years. And so it's a little different this year because of the switch in format, but we're still trying to kind of hold steady towards this vision that we have for the future of Assembly. But this year, instead of all being together in just a few geographic locations, we're inviting people to participate in watch parties, which they can watch on their own. They can have small groups in a home or at their congregation, and hopefully by gathering in these smaller groups, we can prevent the kind of widespread issues that we see with COVID right now. So if you are interested in learning more about the 3-year plan of what this new assembly cycle is going to look like, make sure you check out the link below. We have a video where Brooke and I described and explained everything that's going to happen. Of course, that was before COVID, so we had to tweak it a little bit this year. But we're still really excited about what's going to happen with Assembly moving forward. So for this year, though, registration has opened for delegates and guests, right, Brooke? So is there anything they need to know about registration this year?
One thing we do ask is that the email address you are using when you register, that you make sure you know which email address you used and you sign in on Zoom with that email address. That goes back to allowing us to preset your small groups so that we can seamlessly transition into it. This is some of the issues we had last year with our online tech that we're working to address. That also allows us to help with attendance. If your name might not quite say who you are and what congregation you are, we can identify who you are. If you have any questions on Zoom, or you don't remember, or you weren't a delegate last year, you're wondering what it is, we also have a link to a great video that Cindy made for us last year about how to use Zoom. So please do check that out.
And we're looking forward to seeing all of you at Conference Assembly this year. More information coming up about watch parties, about delegate conversations, all that stuff. Be watching for it in Mosaic News, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon.